Hello and welcome to our training session on using Google Meet. Google Meet is the officially supported video conferencing solution at Newport University and is available to all faculty, staff, and students. This video will cover just the basics of scheduling meetings and using the tools built into Google Meet. If you need some of the advanced features, we have another video that will cover that. All right, let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is set up a Google Meet. Now there are two ways to do this, and it really depends on whether you're meeting now or in the future. We'll cover meeting immediately first because it's a little bit simpler. You can do that from one of two places. If you want, you can actually go to meet.google.com and set it up through there. But if you're meeting immediately, you're probably already in your email, so you'll notice there's this Meet button here on the left. Clicking that button will bring up the Google Meet page, and all you have to do is click New Meeting to get started. When you do that, this little box will come up, and you can then copy your meeting link and paste it into a chat app or a text or whatever else you use to communicate. Or you can hit the Send Invite button, and you can either, again, copy it or share it via email, which will bring up, if you have your computer set up correctly, will bring up your email with the text instructing users how to join the meeting. So the first scenario is for if you're going to meet right away. This next scenario is if you're going to meet in the future. You can't just create a link through the process I just showed you because Google recycles those links after a certain amount of time. So what you need to do is create a link to meet at the time that you intend to meet. This includes for recurring meetings like committee meetings or classes. You do this through the calendar, and you create an event just like normal. So if we want to meet here Friday at 5. If you do need to create a recurring meeting, you can do that with the regular calendar recurring meeting tools here by clicking this drop down and setting it up. That's a little beyond the scope of what we're talking about today, but you can view our other training materials or give us a call for help. When you're done setting up your event, all you have to do is click Add Meet Video Conferencing here. And you have two ways now to invite people to this meeting. If you want, you can add them to this calendar event. Once you do that, they'll get an email with all the necessary connection information, and the event will be added to their calendar. If you have too many people to invite for that, or you need to somehow invite folks outside of that, you can actually copy this link that's right here, or hit Copy Conference Info to get the full joining information for your Google Meet. Once you get that information, you can paste it into an email, put it on Scholar in a web link, or really any other way of communicating a link with others. It's very important once you get all that set up that you do click Save, because if you don't, then the event won't actually happen and that Google Meet link will not be reserved. So when it's time to join a meeting, if you're sent the link from some external source, you will need to just click the link in the email. And if you've created the calendar event, you click on the calendar event and there'll be this blue Join with Google Meet button. Give that a click and you'll be taken to the Google Meet page. Now the first time you're taken here, it'll prompt you to allow to use your microphone and camera. And you have to do that, otherwise people won't be able to see and hear you in your meeting. Once you do that, you'll be taken to this setup page. Now there's a lot of stuff that you can do here. We're not going to go into a lot of detail on it, but I do want to show you a couple little things on here. The first is you can set up your microphone, speakers, and camera down here at the bottom. You just have these little drop downs here. And you'll want to make sure, especially with the microphone, that it kind of bounces when you're talking. That shows that something is coming through into your sound. I will give you a little bit of warning. If you've got a laptop that has a dock with a sound bar, your laptop will immediately default to this Dell AC511 soundbar every time you unplug it and plug it back in to the dock. That's because it thinks that the soundbar has a microphone even though it doesn't. So you'll need to go in here and just switch that to a microphone that actually exists. You see I have several. Again, you can choose the speakers. I've got a headset or a soundbar. Those are options. And then if you've got multiple cameras, you could choose the camera. If you want to test all that stuff, you can actually click on this Make a Test Recording, and it will pop you into an interface that lets you actually record yourself, and it will then play back the recording that you made so that you can see that Google is actually getting your information. We're not going to do that today, though. We're going to hit Join Now. So now you're taken to the Google Meet interface, and this is where you control your meeting. If you look down at the bottom here, you will see the basic controls for the meeting. You have the ability to mute yourself and or turn off your camera with these two buttons here. Generally, it's good practice if you're in a large meeting to keep your microphone muted unless you want to talk. The first time you use this, it'll actually ask if you want to turn on what's called push to talk, which is really useful. If you turn this on, and you're in a large meeting and you're only going to talk sometimes, you can turn that on, and then you can actually hold down the space bar while you're in your meeting, and it'll turn your microphone on temporarily while the space bar is down. As soon as you take the space bar off, your microphone turns off so that you're not disturbing anybody. Next one over is closed captioning. Now this is a neat feature. It doesn't require you as the meeting host to be able to do anything for others to turn on closed captioning. So if you've got folks who are in your meeting who are deaf or hard of hearing, or if it's just a noisy environment and it's helpful to have the captions to make sure things are understood, you can turn these captions on. Now, I do want to warn you that these captions are auto-generated. They're not something a professional is sitting there doing. They're not checked by the person who's presenting. So there could be errors. But Google is actually pretty good at speech to text, and the captions are fairly good. I'm going to turn those off because they're a little distracting in our video. Next one over is reactions. So it allows you to kind of give reactions to whatever the speaker is saying. They may ask you to do something like, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. And you can communicate without actually interrupting the flow of the speaker. I'm going to skip this middle one for just a second. Over here we have raise hand. This is a good way, again, in a larger meeting to indicate that you want to speak. When you do that, your meeting host will see this little raised hand button that will show that you want to talk. And Google actually will listen for you to be able to talk. Once you do, it will automatically lower your hand unless you specifically tell it not to. You've got more options here. I'm not going to go over a lot of these because we don't have time to talk about everything. I will talk about a couple. If you're having audio problems while you're connected to Meet and you just can't seem to hear it, you can actually click this Use a Phone for Audio button, enter your phone number in here, and Google will call you and connect your phone to the meeting as part of the meeting. And you'll be able to interact with the meeting just as if you were using your computer's audio, but it'll be on your phone. It's a great fallback if your microphone stops working, if some driver crashes, any problems come up. The other thing that you may want to do is get into your settings here, and then you can control your speakers and mic right from here. Keep on going over here, and you've got the People tab. If you are the host of the meeting, you will actually be able to interact with folks right here. If you're not the host of the meeting, you may not be able to, depending on their settings. You can mute people by clicking on their voice thing here. Obviously, I can't do that here because I'm actually the only person in the meeting, and this would be muting myself. You can also click this button and pin them so that you can make sure that you always see them. And if, again, this were not a meeting with multiple people, you could kick them out of the meeting with another menu option down here. I do want to give you a warning about kicking people out of the meeting. If you kick someone out of the meeting, they will be kicked out of every session of that meeting using that link. So it's really important that you don't kick people out except as a last resort. Keep moving over here. We've got our meeting chat. You can send people messages kind of out of band of the meeting, so people can ask questions while you're talking, and then you can go back and answer them. When you go to chat in, it will pop up in the chat, and if I was actually not having the chat open, it would actually pop up down here in the corner. So the last thing I want to show you is how to share your screen with others. And the way you do that is with this button that we skipped over earlier, and that is Present Now. When I click on that, it's going to take me to my browser's Share Content dialog box. Now this looks like this on Chrome. It'll look different on other browsers like Firefox, Safari, Edge. They all kind of do the same thing, but they may look a little bit different. I also want to note that on a Mac, you may have trouble if you choose the entire screen option. You may have to go into your system settings and allow whatever browser you're using to record your screen. And it says record, not share. That's just how they call it. All right, so in Chrome, we can share a Chrome tab. This is best if you've got to share audio, or if you're just doing a presentation in Google Slides or something like that, where you're never going to need anything but the stuff that is on that tab. Next, you have a window, so you can share just one program from your computer. This is great if you want some privacy. There is one downside, and that is that if there's any pop-up boxes, any dialogues, any little windows that come up from that window, those are considered separate windows, so they won't display to the people who are viewing your presentation. And if you need to switch windows, you have to come back in and do the whole thing over again. Finally, we have entire screen. It's kind of the most flexible, but it shares absolutely everything on your screen. When you have multiple screens, you'll be able to choose which screen you're going to show. If you just have one, you still have to click on it. And then when you do, it'll show just that screen. So one other thing, if I click on the screen that Meet is in, and we wait just a minute, you'll notice we've got this infinity mirror effect where you got my screen is showing my screen is showing my screen. That's normal. As soon as you click off of Google Meet, then whoever's watching your Google Meet will see whatever you're showing. When you're done presenting, just click this Stop Presenting button, and you'll be taken back to your meeting and your presentation will be over. When you're ready to leave the meeting, you can either just come up and close the tab, or if you want to be 100% sure you're out of the meeting, click this red hang up button, and you can either just leave the call, or if you're the person who created the meeting, you can actually end the call for everyone. Just can click leave the call, and we're all done. So that's the basics of using Google Meet. There are a bunch more features, and we've got videos on some of them. If you need additional assistance with Google Meet, you can put a ticket in at help.cnu.edu or call our customer service desk at the number you see here on the screen. Thanks for watching.